Welcome back to Inherited Dawn, the one and only One Piece podcast that feels like finding a poneglyph in the wild.
This week, we are breaking down chapter 1165, The Echoes of a Forgotten God.
And let me tell you, if you thought you understood Haki, you were wrong. We all were. Oda just dropped a college-level course on the physics of Supreme King Haki in the middle of the most legendary fight in history.
It's more than just a power-up. It's a fundamental law of this world, and we're seeing it written for the first time. If you want to be part of the crew that deciphers these secrets as they drop, make sure you're following the show. You're not going to want to figure this one out alone.
You really aren't. All right, Robin, let's dive in. God Valley is coming apart at the seams.
The chapter opens right where the last one left off. Garp and Roger have just heard the same voice, and they're facing this demonized version of Rox.
And they both see it. Rox is crying. His face is twisted in this monstrous grin, but there are tears streaming down his face. It's not him, or at least not all of him. He's a puppet, and the man inside is trapped.
It's a terrifying concept. We've seen forms of possession in One Piece before, Moria's shadows controlling bodies, Sugar's toys, but this feels different, more primal. It's not a devil fruit ability overriding a person's will. It feels like something is wearing Rox D. Xebec like a suit.
Yeah, exactly. It's like his own ambition and power got so huge that it became a separate entity that's now piloting his body. Or maybe it's the price for whatever power he sought. He became a king, but the throne itself is devouring him. The tears are what get me. It means Xebec, the man who wanted to be king of the world, is still in there, and he knows he's failed. He's a prisoner in his own victory.
It adds a layer of tragedy to a character who, until now, has been portrayed as pure, malevolent ambition. They acknowledge he's not in control, but they can't hesitate. All three of them just erupt with Haki. The sky splits instantly. We've seen that a few times now, but this feels different, more violent.
It's not a clean split like with Roger and Whitebeard, or even Luffy and Kaido. The sky doesn't just divide, it shatters. The panel shows cracks of black lightning spiderwebbing across the entire horizon. It's a three-way collision of will, and the world itself can't handle it. It's an explosion, not a clash.
And Rox is just on another level. He tanks their combined initial attacks, a divine departure from Roger and a galaxy impact from Garp, simultaneously, and just blasts both of them away into the mountainside.
These are two of the strongest men alive in their absolute prime, and they just got swatted like flies. It's an immediate, brutal statement of power. This isn't a battle of equals anymore. Whatever is controlling Rox has put him in a completely different weight class. It makes you wonder, if this is what it took to stop him then, what would it take to stop something like this now?
While this cataclysm is happening, we see the other pirates making their moves. A pirate named Kyo is already ordering his men to steal Rox's ship. There's no loyalty here. The captain is compromised, so the ship is fair game.
And that's the thing about a crew like the Rox crew, right? It was never a crew. It was a collection of predators circling the biggest shark in the ocean. The second that shark shows a moment of weakness, the feeding frenzy starts. They don't try to help him. They don't try to fight with him. They immediately start picking the carcass clean. Kyo is probably some nobody we'll never see again, but he represents the entire ethos of that crew.
And then we get the perspective from one of the future legends. Shiki, standing on a cliff, just calls it. He says today marks the end of the Rox pirates. Just a flat statement of fact.
No emotion, no sadness, just pure, cold calculation. He sees the power vacuum opening in real time, and he's already planning his next move. That's it. The most dangerous crew in the world dissolved in a single moment because their leader lost himself. Shiki, Whitebeard, Big Mom, Kaido, they were never a crew. They were just waiting for their turn.
It shows what held them together. It wasn't camaraderie, shared dreams, or loyalty. It was the gravity of Rox's ambition and power. He was a force of nature they orbited around. Without that central point, they just fly apart into their own chaotic trajectories.
And on the other side of the island, you see the complete opposite, a perfect contrast. Roger and Garp, separately, both give their crews the same order. Leave, get to the ships, and get out of here, without us.
Rayleigh's protesting, of course. He's not going to abandon his captain. But Roger is adamant. It's a direct order, and it's not a suggestion. It's a captain's final responsibility.
And you see Garp's men doing the same. He's telling them to fall back, to protect the ships. These leaders are looking at a god-tier monster that just backhanded both of them across the island, and their first thought is get my people to safety. It's not about winning anymore. It's about making sure their family survives.
They promise to return no matter what. It's the ultimate statement of a captain's responsibility and their crew's trust. They're ordered to save themselves, believing their captain will handle the impossible and find his way back. We saw Luffy do the same at Sabaody, telling his crew to run. It's the mark of a true king, not one who rules over others, but one who bears the heaviest burden for them.
That's the bond right there. That's the whole story of One Piece in 2 panels. The Rock's crew fall apart because their leader was a destination. The Roger and the Marine's crew hold together because their leaders are a shield. One is selfish, the other is selfless. It's beautiful, man.
Exactly. And Garp and Roger, now alone, finally face each other across a cratered wasteland. They toss off their coats, Roger's iconic captain's coat and Garp's marine justice coat, and there's this moment of shared frustration.
It's almost funny. It's this incredibly human moment in the middle of an earth-shattering battle. Garp's complaining that he wanted to arrest both of them, and Roger is annoyed because he just came for some treasure and for Shaki. Neither of them got what they wanted out of this day.
Roger's attitude is just perfect. He's basically saying he sails the seas for treasure and adventure, and all he's gotten today is a headache and a marine. It completely grounds the scene. For all their legendary status, they are still just 2 stubborn, hard-headed men who got dragged into something far bigger than they anticipated.
And now they're stuck. With Rocks on a rampage, they have no choice but to work together. You can see the reluctant understanding in their eyes. The truce is unspoken, but official.
The action kicks back in immediately. Rocks descends on them, no longer flying, but just falling like a meteor. Garp dodges a massive sword strike that carves a canyon into the ground, and Roger uses the opening to slam Rocks into the mountain with a Haki-infused slash. Pure combo play from 2 guys who should be trying to kill each other.
The synergy is insane. They've never fought together before, but they move like they've been a team their whole lives. Garp is the brawler, the tank, creating openings with raw power. Roger is the swordsman, the striker, exploiting those openings with speed and precision. It's like watching 2 master craftsmen who speak the same language of combat.
Garp even grabs Rocks by the foot, swings him around like a hammer throw, and yells out asking if there's any way to turn him back. He's still trying to see if the man can be saved. Even in this moment, Garp's justice isn't about pure destruction. He's trying to apprehend the criminal, not just obliterate the monster.
While Roger's just screaming at him to wake up, yelling that if Xebec wanted the world, he should take it with his own 2 hands, not like this. They're both trying to reach the person inside the monster. It's not just about winning. It's about trying to end this without completely destroying what's left of the man. It shows a level of respect for their enemy, which is something the Rocks pirates never had for each other.
As the escape is underway, we get a quick check-in with everyone else. Gloriosa, the elder Neon from Amazon Lily, is hitching a ride with the Roger pirates. She's yelling at Scopper Gabon to hurry up.
I knew it. I knew she sailed with them. I called this years ago. It just recontextualizes her entire relationship with Rayleigh back on Amazon Lily. She wasn't just some old lady who knew him. They were shipmates. She was on the Oro Jackson. This is huge. Does this mean Roger's crew visited Amazon Lily? Is that how they learned to read the poneglyphs without a member of the Three-Eyed Tribe? Did Gloriosa guide them?
It opens 1,000 questions. The Kuja have a history of detesting men, yet their former empress sailed with the Pirate King. It implies a deep connection between the Kuja, Roger, and possibly even the ancient kingdom. Remember, the Kuja worship a snake, and their architecture has ancient motifs. Perhaps they are guardians of a piece of the puzzle Roger needed.
And then we cut to the two future emperors, Big Mom and Kaido. This scene was a lore explosion.
Oh, this was everything. Linlin confronts him as he's about to leave. She tells him he owes her a debt for life because on this island, he stole something that belonged to her, the Uo no Mi model Seiryu.
It was her fruit. She had it. I bet Rox gave it to her as a reward or something and Kaido just jacked it. His entire rise to power, his entire legend as the invincible dragon, started because he stole her devil fruit. This explains so much about their weird dysfunctional relationship in Wano.
A debt she tried to collect in Wano decades later. Remember her words, "This is a life debt, Kaido." We thought it was just because he was her subordinate. No, it was literal. But Kaido, even back then, completely rejects it. He says he just got to it first. To him, it wasn't theft. It was survival of the fittest.
And that's where his whole philosophy is born. He looks her dead in the eye and basically says that the strong take what they want, and that's the only law worth following. He declares right there his plan to start a crew where violence is the only thing that matters, where power is the only law. It's the direct ideological opposite of a crew like Luffy's, where strength is used to protect. For Kaido, strength is just for taking.
Linlin just laughs and tells him he'll never surpass her because he doesn't understand the true nature of building an empire. For her, it's about connections, deals, and debts, a twisted form of family. For him, it's about pure, solitary strength. As they part ways, she promises she will come to collect her debt. Kaido's response is so perfectly him. He'll be waiting to crush her. Their entire 40-year rivalry was cemented in this single conversation.
Meanwhile, Whitebeard is walking away from it all. He's not running or fighting, he's just walking. He looks so tired of all this. He's seen what ultimate ambition did to Rox, and he wants no part of it.
And he's approached by a man, a pirate named Polo Graham, with this easygoing smile and a very distinct hairstyle. He says he's a big fan of Newgate and offers to team up.
This guy, he looks so much like Marco, an older version maybe. The hair, the relaxed attitude, the way he stands. What is that? A relative? His father? Or, and here's my wild theory, is that the previous user of the Tori no Mi model Phoenix?
That's a fascinating thought. We know devil fruits reincarnate. Is it possible that the will of a fruit is so strong that it imprints certain physical or personality traits onto their users across generations? The name Graham could be a red herring, or it could be a family name. But Newgate isn't interested. He just brushes him off, saying he's not looking for crewmates. He's not ready to lead yet. He needs to process the end of this era before he can start his own.
It's the birth of so many legends, but they're not legends yet. They're just survivors picking through the rubble of their captain's implosion. They're defining themselves in opposition to what they just witnessed. Kaido doubles down on strength, Whitebeard rejects ambition for family, Shiki goes off to do his own thing. It's a character crucible.
And speaking of future legends, we cut to Dragon.
My man, this is it, the moment. He's a Marine, he's young, he still has his justice coat on, but he's holding his own squad captain at gunpoint, just a full-on armed standoff on a Marine ship.
Because the captain is refusing to let civilian slaves, the survivors from God Valley, on board. The orders from on high were clear: secure the celestial dragons and abandon everyone else. Dragon is forcing them to evacuate the survivors. He threatens to execute any Marine who disagrees.
This is the moment. This is the origin story of the world's worst criminal. He saw the cold, callous logic of the world government, that the lives of civilians are disposable for the sake of the divine, and he drew his line in the sand. His justice was not their justice. The coat on his back became a lie in that instant.
He chose the people over the institution. It's the entire philosophy of the Revolutionary Army, crystallized in a single desperate act of rebellion. This is where his war began. He looked at the system he had dedicated his life to, saw its true face, and declared war on it. He didn't just leave the Marines, he became their antithesis.
He's not fighting pirates. He's not fighting territory. He's fighting the system itself. He's fighting the concept of divine right. Chills, man. Literal chills. It makes his eventual reveal as Luffy's father even more impactful. The son is the embodiment of freedom. The father is the man trying to tear down the cage.
And then we get the architect of that system, Emu. We see a panel of Saint Saturn, but the narration and the cold, empty word bubbles make it clear who is speaking. Still in Saturn's body, leaving the island on a pristine world government ship. And the order is given.
Just ice cold. Treat this island as having never existed. Not just clean it up, not secure the area, erase it.
The narrator confirms it. Everything was erased by Marine Base G11 and Cipher Pole 6. The location of the island, the names of the people who lived there, the number of people who died, wiped from history.
It's the Ohar method, the Void Century method. It's their one move. If a truth is inconvenient for the world government, it never happened. It's their one brutal move, and they've been using it for 800 years. That's how they keep control, not just with force, but with the complete control of information.
The fact that they specify CP6 and G11 is interesting. We know about CP9 and CP0, the public and clandestine assassination units. What are the lower numbers? CP6 could be the division that specializes in historical erasure, the librarians of the lie. G11 could be a Marine base dedicated to these Black Ops cleanups. It tells you how deep this cover-up went. This wasn't just a PR spin. It was a surgical removal of a day from the calendar of the world.
And then it gets even crazier back at the fight. Garp and Roger are losing. They're bruised, bleeding, getting down, worn down. And in the middle of it all, as they're catching their breath, Garp just voices his disgust for the world government himself. He basically says the celestial dragons aren't worth the dirt on his boots, and that he's doing this for the people, not for them.
Which prompts Roger to ask him something incredible. He looks at Garp, completely serious, and asks him, "Marine, do you know anything about Emu?"
Roger knows. He knows the name. He must have learned about Emu on his journey to Laugh Tale. He must have seen it on a poneglyph. He calls Emu's existence vile and says it goes against everything the world government is supposed to stand for. He saw the contradiction at the heart of the world. The empty throne isn't empty.
This changes everything. Roger wasn't just a carefree adventurer. He knew the darkest secret of the world. He understood the true enemy. And in this moment, he sees a kindred spirit in Garp, a man of justice who despises the gods Garp is sworn to. And then he makes the offer. He invites Garp to join his crew.
Can you imagine that? Garp, a Roger pirate, the hero of the Marines sailing under the Jolly Roger. The world would have broken. Of course he says no. He says he has to stay to protect the weaker Marines, the good people trapped in a corrupt system. That's his justice. He can't abandon them. It's the most Garp answer possible, and it's so tragic. He knows the system is rotten to the core, but he believes he can do more good from the inside.
And that moment of connection, that shared understanding of the world's hypocrisy, leads to the big reveal. Roger lays out the strategy. He says he's been using Supreme King Haki this whole time, not just armament, to defend against Rox's attacks.
And Garp confirms it. He says Rox countered with his own Supreme King Haki, and they canceled each other out. This changes everything we know about high-level combat. It's not just an advanced form of armament coding. It's a separate defensive field.
It's not just an aura that makes people faint or a coding for your attacks. Roger explains that you can use it defensively, an armor of pure will, a constant projection of your spirit that acts as a barrier. That's why these top-tier fighters can take such insane punishment. They aren't just durable, they are actively repelling the force of attacks with their willpower.
But since they're all doing it, it's a stalemate. Roger's Haki defense is being nullified by Rox's Haki defense. It's like trying to push two superpowered magnets together. So Roger figures it out. The only way to win is to increase the mass of their Supreme King Haki.
It's about density, the sheer weight of their ambition and spirit, focused into a single point. It's not just about having the power, it's about how much of your very soul you can project at once. It's a qualitative difference, not just quantitative.
This is the kind of crunchy, specific detail from Oda that I absolutely live for. It's the physics of willpower. It explains so much. It explains the difference between conquerors, why Roger and Whitebeard splitting the heavens was a tier above what we saw from Big Mom and Kaido. It's all about the mass of their will. Luffy had to learn to let his haki flow, but this is the next step, condensing it, making it so heavy that it can crush other people's will.
But Roger knows doing it will be catastrophic for their stamina. To concentrate that much of their spirit into one attack will drain them completely. It could kill them. It's the ultimate trump card, but it costs almost everything.
And Garp's reply is just perfect. He spits out some blood, grins, and says, "If we don't do this, we'll die anyway. There's no other choice. It's all or nothing. The ultimate gamble."
We see a beautiful parallel shot. Back on the Oro Jackson, Rayleigh and Gaban stop. They look back at the exploding island, and without a word, they turn around and start running back towards the fight. They can't leave their captain.
That's the Roger pirates right there. The captain orders them to live, but they choose to die with him. That's the bond. They're going back, knowing they'll probably be useless, but they have to be there. Super.
Garp and Roger get to their feet. They stand shoulder to shoulder. Garp yells at Rox, not with empathy for him, but with his own sense of frustration. He yells that he doesn't know what happened to Xebec, but he knows how frustrated he feels over his own lack of control in this situation.
And then they do it. They stand side by side, the Pirate King and the Marine Hero, and they unleash everything they have left. Two immense waves of haki, pure black lightning flowing from them and coalescing around their fists. Roger's right fist for a divine departure, Garp's left fist for a galaxy fist.
A final combined attack. Roger calls it divine impact. Garp calls it galaxy departure. They're yelling over each other. It's chaos, and it's perfect. The panel is just a blinding explosion of white and black.
The attack that beat Rox D. Xebec, the one that changed the world. It had to be them, the freest man on the seas and the most brutally effective fist of justice. Together, that moment was just super.
The narration closes the chapter. It says the world government did their best to cover up the incident completely, burying the truth of the Pirate Marine Alliance under the legend of a lone hero, Garp.
But you can't erase something that big. The man died, but the echoes he left behind, the volatile, ambitious monsters he brought together on that island, they went on to define the next age of piracy. His death was the starting pistol for the Great Pirate Age, even before Roger found the One Piece.
His demise and the scattering of his crew cast unforgettable shadows onto the world. The narrator says those shadows shaped it into what it is today. The end of one story was the beginning of a dozen others.
Whitebeard, Kaido, Big Mom, Shiki, even Dragon in his own way. It all started here. This was the big bang of the modern era. What a chapter. I'm just, wow. My circuits are fried.
There's so much to process. If this chapter left you with as many questions as it did answers, let us know what you're thinking in the comments below. We read all of them.
All right, prediction time. Let's hear it. What do you think is coming in 1166?
My first prediction is that we will see the immediate aftermath on God Valley. The dust will settle on Garp and Roger, completely exhausted, barely able to stand over Rox's defeated body. And we'll get one last look at him, the dark energy receding, his body reverting to its normal state, maybe with a single final word. Perhaps he'll say something that hints at the nature of Imu or the D-Clan, a final cryptic clue.
I like that. A quiet moment after the storm, the eye of the hurricane before the world changes forever.
For my second, I think we'll see how the world government begins the cover-up. We'll cut to Marineford, where a younger but still stressed Sengoku is getting a report. Then we'll see Kong formally giving Garp the title Hero of the Marines, and a shot of Garp in a hospital bed, looking away with a scowl, reluctantly accepting it because he knows it's a lie to bury a much more complicated truth. He'll take the fame to hide the shame of working with a pirate.
Ooh, that's good. Seeing the gears of the propaganda machine turn in real time. Okay, my turn. Prediction 1. I think we're going to see Rayleigh and Gabon arrive just as the fight is over. They'll find Garp and Roger, both on the verge of collapse. Garp's Marines will show up to help him, and Rayleigh and Gabon will be the ones to help carry the drained Roger back to the ship. It'll be a real powerful moment for the captain and his two strongest commanders.
The right and left hands supporting their king. That fits perfectly with the themes we've seen.
For my second prediction, and this is the one I really want to see, we'll get a short scene on the Oro Jackson as it's sailing away. A young Shanks and Buggy will be there, wide-eyed, asking what happened. Rayleigh, looking solemn and tired, will give them a very simplified, heavily edited version of the story. Something like, the captain got into a little brawl with the Marines and another pirate crew, but he won. He'll plant the first seeds of the legend that they'll grow up with, protecting them from the darker, more complex truth of what really went down.
I could absolutely see that, shaping the next generation's view of the world from the very beginning, protecting their innocence while also building the legend. Those are solid. We'll see who's right next time.
On Inherited Dawn.